So I'm now going to pass the torch over to Evan Dickens with Jones and Roth CPAs to hear more from our local businesses. Evan, take the stage.
Thank you, Shannon, very much. Good afternoon. It's noon, right? Afternoon, everybody. I'm Evan Dickens with Jones and Roth CPAs. It is our pleasure to be the keynote sponsor for either the 9th, 10th, or 11th consecutive year, because I have no concept of time, and I'm sorry that that's as much precision as you get from an accountant right now. But it's a pleasure and a privilege to be involved with this event. I would like to express my gratitude personally to the staff at EDCO. I'm so happy. I've known John for as long as I've lived in Central Oregon. I'm so happy to see him take this role. And I want to especially express my gratitude to maybe my favorite person in the entire world, the events director, Erin Riley, who makes this happen. She's exceptional, and I have nothing but admiration for her. So again, we are the sponsor of both the keynote, the panel, and putting cool stuff on your table. So yes, I've been hearing all of your remarks the last few years. Oh, the accountant brought the notepads and the pens again. Whoop-de-doo. Well, okay. Got some slightly cooler stuff this year. We got some, if you want some sunglasses with your CPA firm's name on the side of them, can't imagine that your kids wouldn't think that's exciting. This little green thing is both a weapon and some lip balm, if you would like to open it. And then this is a bottle opener and expands to a stainless steel straw, including, and also a weapon too. I mean, if you're into that, but also a brush to clean it with. So we've got a few of each of these on every table. Please feel free to distract your neighbor and take whatever's in front of them while they're not looking. If you want something different, but no pads, no pens this year. I get it. Again, we are really pleased to be the keynote sponsor. I have a chance to say just a couple words about our firm as a result of this sponsorship. And I don't have any prepared notes. I just want to be really authentic with you. I just had a moment when Shannon introduced John, and she said, "Tell us what you got, John." And John said, "What I got is all of you." That means a lot to me. After the last 2 years, that what we have is each other. And Andrew talked about constraints that we're facing. We've all had constraints at a variety of different levels, personally, professionally, constraints on our available talent pool, constraints on the world around us, constraints on our abilities to meet face-to-face. And it's this event, more than anything else I do during the year, makes me recognize how fortunate I think that we all are to be a part of such a healthy, such a positive business community. We're talking about culture today, the culture of our CPA firm, and hopefully the culture of the life that I lead is a culture of personal relationships, not a culture of transactional businesses, and I think I could speak for most professional services that are represented here. We now recognize more than ever the last 2 years, the power of a personal relationship and how meaningful that is. And that's what I hope that our firm, Jones & Roth, as a CPA firm, will continue to represent, is those personal relationships. Thank you all for being part of what I believe is a fairly exceptional business community. So with that, I have a panel of people who are going to talk more than me for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And I would like to have those panelists go ahead and make their way. 2 of them are already here. I have a third one who is going to make their way over to this side. And our panelists today talking about company culture are Liz Allor-Shermer from Hydro Flask, Stacy Durhack from Sun River Brewing, and Carly McEnery from Metolius Artisan Tea. Will you please welcome our panel? Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for being a part of this. I shared your name and where you're from, and I'm now going to give you the chance to say a little more than that, please. Stacy, we'll go ahead and start with you, if you don't mind. Just tell us, well, you don't have to tell us your name. I guess I already told everybody that. But you can say it again and say what your position is and how long you've been there, maybe, and whatever else you'd like to say.
Okay, thank you. I'm Stacy Durhawk. I work for Sun River Brewing Company. I'm the Director of Team Services, which encompasses a lot of different parts of our company, the operations portion, but I'm their HR director, and I'm very proud to work for a company such as Sun River Brewing Company. I'm the newest executive with the company. I've been with them for 3 years, and I've been a director for about 2.5 years, and one of the reasons I wanted to join Sun River Brewing Company is because of the culture that they have.
Wonderful. Thank you. Liz, will you introduce yourself?
I'm Liz. I work for Hydro Flask in the go-to-market category. Work on product launch cross-functionally with everyone, product managers to sales and marketing.
Wonderful. Go ahead, Carly. Introduce yourself, please.
My name's Carly, and I work at Metolius Artisan Tea. I've been there almost 2 years now. I am currently the system specialist and purchasing manager. I started, though, blending all of the tea, blending and brewing all the tea that we made. And in the short time that I've been there, the company has grown in leaps and bounds. It's an exciting place to be, and what is keeping me there is the culture.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So, first question I'd like to ask each of you is, if somebody asked you, how would you define your company's culture? What's the summarized answer you would give for that? Stacey, I'll again start with you, if you don't mind.
Okay. Right now, we believe that Sun River Brewing Company is in a time of transition. The last 2 years with the pandemic have changed the workforce significantly. So in our company, all of the leaders at all levels are taking a look. We're asking active questions to our staff, gathering information before we make a response to them. Our slogan is "We Care," and that's a slogan that will always stay in our hearts. But we know that we're in a transitional moment right now, and we look to the next 10 years and to our staff to see where we're going in our culture.
Wonderful. Liz?
I would define our culture a little bit more generically in the respect and friendship. The office, being around people, even though we have a hybrid, we're in, we're out, it's up to us. Being part of a company that I've done many different things, and our culture has been the most welcoming. I've never had so many hype people in my life that applaud everything that you do, but then are always there for any mistakes that you make and support you in all of that. So respect and friendship.
Carly, how do you define your company's culture?
I would say that our culture is defined by leading with kindness in everything that we do, whether it be from daily interpersonal interactions to big purchases or navigating hard moments with supply chain and not being able to produce. We're just trying to roll with the punches and be kind to each other in every moment that presents itself.
That's great. Thank you. So, Liz, I'll start with you for this question. Let's say that you have, a potential employee who's interested in your company, who has experience in your industry. How would you want them to know that your company culture is different potentially from others in that industry, others that they could go work for?
This is a great question, and I actually tapped into some of the people who've been with Hydro Flask since the beginning and some of the new people as well, because I wanted to know a sense of, because I know what I feel, and it's true across the board. Bend is Hydro Flask, and Hydro Flask is made up of Bend. So it's complete community. Everyone's kids go to school together, they go mountain biking together, skiing together. Everybody knows everybody's dog's names. I've only been there a year, and everybody knows. So it's the sense of community that we don't just work together, we play together, we adventure together, we take the knocks, we take the wins, all of it, we do it together as a community.
Stacey, how would you say your company's culture is separated from others in your same industry?
Well, we know in our company it's not just about wages and benefits. We know that we have to be competitive in our industry, but we know it's how we treat our people at every level. And I don't know if any of you have met the Camerons, but the Camerons are very generous, caring owners for our company, and that's been something that our staff has also adopted, and we try to greet all of our employees that way, and that comes from each of our staff members that are currently working in our restaurants and at our brewery. It's that feeling we have of the we care and welcoming them into the Cameron and the Sun River Brewing Company family.
And Carly, how would you say your company is separate from others in your industry and the culture?
Yeah, we're a pretty tiny company right now, but mighty. And when we have people come interested to work for us and with us, that's what we presented as. You're working alongside us, with us, and joining our ecosystem. We are a production-based facility, so it's not glamorous work at times, but the product that we're making, we believe in, and we enjoy doing it collaboratively and caring for each other. So, yeah, when we're trying to get people to join, we want them to know that it's not just like production tea-based. It's more than that.
You mentioned the size of your company. This question isn't on the preset question, so I'm going to throw you a curveball here. But let's just give everybody an idea of roughly how many employees do you have locally in your company, if you could start.
14.
14? Liz?
100.
We're about 300 right now.
Okay, wow. Great. So let's talk about the driver of the culture. I guess I'm curious if you would consider the culture to be sort of staff-driven organically, or if it's something that leadership has to drive. Carly, can I start with you on this question?
Sure, yeah. Our culture is something that's organically evolved and developed with our owner, Amy Stahl. I have been with the company, again, 2 years, but since I've joined, which was middle of pandemic, I have seen what we do already become defined. So the intentions that we set and the ways we try to show each other how we care and to acknowledge events in their lives, or really just a life beyond the workplace, is something that is happening, but then in the small company, the size that we are right now, we're coming to define after it's already there. So it's kind of organically evolving.
Stacey?
Well, as I mentioned before, if you've met the Camerons, they set the tone for the culture in our company. They truly show it to our staff every day when they're in the area. The staff feels that family culture, even though we're starting to get larger. And so I would say that it's not just our leadership that drives it, but the staff wanting to show that care and respect for each other that comes from the leadership. I can tell you that when I came to the company, I sat in on the executive team meetings before I was an executive, and we had our slogan, "We Care," on our poster. And I listened as they were making decisions in our company. And every time they were making an important decision, they challenged each other and pointed at that poster and said, "Is that really showing the we care?" And that's why I wanted to invest my time in this company and be a leader. So I'd say that it's driven from leadership, but it's driven both ways, top and bottom down.
Great, Liz?
I definitely would say that ours is staff-driven, but leadership-supported. So there's a lot of interest in doing activities together, volunteer work, putting ourselves into the community, and leadership is 100% behind anyone and everyone who brings an idea to the table. And so the support to be part of the community and be a community ourselves within the company has been completely supported by all of our leadership. But there's definitely a head from our staff. And to me, that's huge because I know that I can bring any idea, any thought, any adventure, and it will be put on the table, and people will talk about it.
So you all talked a lot about a large element of the staff being part of that. Do you think that a culture like yours has to sort of be created with a plan from management and has to be structured a certain way, or is it just something that sort of organically develops over time from the staff? Liz, can you answer that?
I think both, for sure. If there isn't support from leadership and if there aren't some guiding principles, we all need some sort of guiding principles. And knowing that within those guiding principles, we as a staff can bring organic ideas, concepts, adventures, missions, whatever it is. I think that both definitely, I don't think one more than the other for us. I think it definitely is an equal and even, it ebbs and flows for sure, but I'd say it's pretty equal.
Carly, what do you think? Do you have to build a culture with intention, or is it something that just sort of develops organically?
As long as there's space that's held for it, I think that it can develop organically. At least can speak to that for the size that Metolius is now. I think, of course, as you grow, and we are growing, and we're having those conversations of how do we have to define this or structure it more intentionally with more people, more roles, But as long as there's a space for it that encourages the staff, that they know that they can bring things to the table.
Yeah, thank you. And Stacy?
Well, for us, it grew organically. We were a small company. Everyone knew each other, and everyone did all of the jobs in our company. We had our Sun River Pub restaurant, and then we opened Galveston in Central Oregon and the brewery in Central Oregon, and that culture just grew for 5 years. But then we opened a pub in Eugene, and we needed to decide, how do we duplicate that culture? And so we did start to move with intention and put in systems and processes so that we could protect our company and we could protect our people. But of course, that was in 2019 when that started, and the pandemic hit. So now that things are settling down, we are doing this with intention again by going out and actively listening to our staff, gathering information, finding out what's changed in the new workforce today, and making sure that we can meet those challenges and their desires.
So absent the pandemic considerations, because certainly we wouldn't say anything about the last 2 years has been a normal progression of culture. In general, do you think in an ideal situation, does culture need to change over time, or is it something that should be fairly consistent versus evolving? Liz, do you mind starting with that?
Oh, it needs to change. I mean, our entire world, our entire environment, communities, everything has changed. And as we evolve, as humans, we grow, we change, our companies grow, our companies change, and being part of a company that listens is the biggest thing that I could ask for and want for everyone else. Listens, processes, and moves forward. And sometimes that change is not what you expect, but sometimes it might be what you need.
Great. Carly, would you answer that? Do you think culture needs to continue to evolve, or do you think there needs to be constant change, frequent change?
Yeah, I agree with Liz. And if there's anything that showed us that nothing is the same, it was the last few years here. And we at Metolius definitely consider the person beyond the workplace, I think, in a way that is special and unprecedented for me in a workplace. I came in halfway through the pandemic, so I can't speak to what it was before in great detail, but there is so much life that happens and so many things that we need to be adaptable for individually and collectively. And your workplace is where you spend a huge chunk of your time. So yeah, you have to be somewhere that supports that.
Stacy?
Yes, I would echo both of these ladies. For us, that's what we're doing right now. We're looking at how our culture is going to change, but the we care for us is deep in our hearts. So even if we change that slogan, something different comes out, the we care will always be the deep part of our hearts for our company.
So the next question on my sheet here is, did the culture change at all through the last 2 years? Well, if there's a company in here that can say the last 2 years nothing has changed at all, then congratulations, I don't believe you. So I'm going to assume that there has been a change and ask this question. How have you managed the impact of the last 2 years and the challenges of the pandemic on your company's culture? And Stacy, if I could start with you.
Yeah, well, the restaurant industry, I'm sure there's several of you out there, as we all saw, is a influx of people coming and going. And so we did have to change so that we were softer in our coaching and discipline and even some of our development. And it was painful for us. But now that things have settled down, we have refocused on those aspirations, and we're setting expectations for our staff, putting development plans in place, and there's a longing for it from our staff, especially people that want to grow in their talents, in their own work. So that's where we're refocusing, but yes, it was very painful for a couple years.
Liz, can you talk about the challenges of the last 2 years?
Yes, definitely. Challenges and positives. The biggest challenge, I started with Hydro Flask just over a year ago. So I was onboarded virtually, which is very different than being part of the Hydro Flask office, I will be totally honest. So now that we've been back in the office and hybrid, able to go in and out, that's something that was very difficult, just being, everything was virtual and we didn't really know where we were going. The positive is that communication was huge. I think that we all developed in the company and everyone outside of the company how to communicate better through written word, emails, virtually, just being able to be open and honest that we don't know what's coming next and we have to just prepare for what could come next. But we also learned that we don't know what's coming next multiple times in the last 2 years. So the hardest part was just not being part of the community initially, but then hearing all the communication continually and the reassurance. Like, your comfort level was your comfort level, and everyone listened to that and talked about that, which was extraordinary.
Wonderful. Carly, talk about the challenges of the last 2 years on culture.
Yeah, at Metolius, our owner Amy heart-wrenchingly had to lay off her entire staff, so it was only her and her husband. At that time, it was nearly 10 people, so they went down to 2 people, and then slowly built up from there. I was the second or third person hired on in those pandemic months, and we've been building from there. In that way, it gave an opportunity, though it was born out of something that was very painful, as Amy speaks about it, was a new opportunity, a clean slate to rethink and redirect the company, and now it's come back in a way that's stronger and better than ever, which is a special thing for us, but the wound is still there. It's not all that far gone.
Thank you. One final question for you. I'd like to know, looking into the future, we've talked about the need for culture to evolve. How do you see your company culture evolving? How do you expect that evolution to be over the next 5 years? Liz, if I can start with you.
We just stay strong. We all I don't ever want to say the pandemic's over because we just don't know. We don't know what's coming next, but just continuing the strength and the growth that the new things we learned. Part of the company culture that I think will be enhanced is that companies are trying very, very hard. They're doing the work to figure out what it is that employees need. And so being an employee and speaking openly and letting the company decide how they need to move forward has been part of the evolution of being able to move forward, grow, change. I think culture has nowhere to go but strength right now because we have to. We have no other options but to listen to each other, to be open to what's happening, to learn, grow.
Carly, how do you see your company's culture evolving in the next 5 years?
I think it's going to be crazy. We're so tiny right now and growing really fast, so it's exciting. We strive to bring people in that align with the culture and values before the skills. Our skills are teachable, so with that intention set, it's just exciting time to see what happens here.
Excellent. And Stacy, how do you see the company culture evolving in the next 5 years?
Well, I piggyback on what these ladies have both said. For us, again, we know we're in a moment of transition. The workforce has changed exceptionally over the past 2 years, and their expectations have changed. So we are preparing to respond to them by actively listening. We're bringing in deeper layers of our management team to do discovery. We are taking a look at flexibility. We know that's really important to people, time off. We're switching things over from salaried employees, those traditional salaried positions, and we're offering them hourly positions because that can offer them more flexibility. We're taking a look at all of our benefits. It's something that's going to take some time for us, but we are in active listening mode, and we are going to respond to what the workforce is telling us and our business needs.
That's wonderful. I'll ask you each, any quick final takeaways? I got about 1 minute left. Anything you want to just encapsulate and summarize, or any other advice? Stacy, I'll start with you.
I just want to thank you all for the opportunity. Many things that Liz said here about, well, both of you, about the way you welcome staff. We have very similar philosophies, and that's one of the great things about working in Central Oregon. I think that we all are very thoughtful about our staff and helping grow people and just being a part of the great community that we have here. So thank you for asking me to be here.
Great. Liz, any final thoughts?
My just great advice it may be great to me, might not be to you. But I've been in a number of companies and a number of cultures, and I just firmly believe in kind of drinking the Kool-Aid and giving credit to the people who are doing the work. Everyone knows that companies are trying, and rather than bucking the system, just kind of be a little bit more open-minded and welcoming to what's being offered, because you will learn something, you will grow, the company will grow from that. And so just being open-minded, listening, hearing, and processing.
Have you ever drank Kool-Aid out of a Hydro Flask? Is that
No,
is that
but
possible?
we will be taking that back to the office for sure.
Have we drink beer or chai tea out of a Hydro Flask? That's also a great question. Carly, any final thoughts or advice?
Yeah, speaking from being a part of a small business right now, it's said it multiple times, this word, but it's exciting to be a part of what it is now, but also what it can be. And so what we're building right now is like, what is the drive for what is coming. And yeah, being here in Central Oregon where it really does feel like the sky is the limit is a pretty amazing place to be.
That's wonderful. Stacy with Sun River Brewing, Liz with Hydro Flask, Carly with Metolius Artisan Tea. Please thank our panel. They've been wonderful.